UK boxing blogger coming right back at you. Right, this is a response. I see a couple of videos at Zone, and that was going back and forth with a couple of people the other day about, I think it was D Styles, about who performed. I haven't seen D Styles videos yet, but I'm going to check them up. But it's like who performed better, Pacquiao or Mayweather, over common opponents. So we got Oscar De La Hoya. Anybody can make excuses on, oh yeah, well, it was at this weight, that weight, if that weren't his best weight, rah, rah, rah. Well, De La Hoya was probably a better welterweight in my belief than he was a light middleweight, in my opinion. But I'm not even going to go down them arguments. They agreed a weight. I don't believe Oscar De La Hoya was washed up or anything like that as a fighter. He was always able to hang in there and beat quality of position at any stage of his career. So I'm going to give Pacquiao full credit. The way he beat Oscar De La Hoya, I don't think anybody could beat Oscar De La Hoya other than Manny Pacquiao like that. It was brutal. The bouncing in and out, head movement, the speed, punching body shots, head shots, right hands, left hands, the mixing it up. Oscar De La Hoya has never been so brutally outboxed like that. It wasn't like he was old and he was weight drained and his punch resistance would be the first thing that went. But he was holding shots that Cotto, Margarito, Clottey, fucking even Mosley to a certain extent, when Pacquiao wasn't even at his prime at that point. He started to sort of phase down a little bit by that point, and Hatton couldn't even handle the punching power of Pacquiao yet. De La Hoya was taking full-blooded shots and he was holding them. So to me, weight drain fighters and over-the-hill fighters, the first thing that goes is punch resistance. I didn't see that from Oscar De La Hoya. He just got completely outboxed and dismantled. They had to pull him out. He was just too dangerous because he was just taking too much of a beating. So, because Pacquiao was too quick and skillful for him on that night, and he admitted that given the circumstances, whatever the circumstances may be, that was his toughest fight ever. And that's saying something. Personally, myself, fighting B-Hop at 160 would have been a much tougher fight for him, I would have thought, given any circumstance. But he says Pacquiao, so that's saying a lot. Floyd Mayweather, close fight. I could see that a draw, and I could see it going around either way. De La Hoya, Mayweather. De La Hoya started well. Mayweather started timing De La Hoya and landing nice shots as De La Hoya slowed or went away from the game plan in the second half of the fight, whichever way you want to say. But it was a close, competitive fight. So in summarising them two performances, Pacquiao, any circumstance, even if it was at 154 the night Floyd fought him, if it was Pacquiao that night that he fought Oscar De La Hoya, he would have done exactly the same thing. He would have been too quick for him. And if De La Hoya was charging in like he did against Mayweather, he probably would have got his ass Ricky Hattoned. He would have walked onto a big Pacquiao shot, which we wouldn't have seen coming, and would have been so ferocious, just like Ricky Hatton did. So I think that night that Floyd fought Oscar, he would have got took out worse by Manny Pacquiao, in my opinion. But given the two performances, Manny Pacquiao easily on Oscar De La Hoya. 2, Miguel Cotto. Yeah, Miguel Cotto. I don't think Miguel Cotto was too confident by the time he fought Floyd, and I don't think he was a little bit more confident against Pacquiao because he felt like he had the bigger advantage of being the bigger, stronger man, and that would automatically make you feel stronger. And it was at the welterweight or agreed limit that they had, which was his at the time. By the time Cotto went up to 154, he never really had the greatest performances, even though he had a couple. He's had nice wins at 154. He never really had great performances up there. And I don't think he had too much self-confidence at the time he fought Floyd, and I don't think he felt like he had the big man power, and he was a bigger guy than Floyd. And the way the fight went, it told that tale that Floyd dominated early, and then he managed to come back once he realised Floyd weren't really hurting him as much as maybe he thought, because he took a load of clean and he sort of got a second wind in the fight and pushed Floyd later on in the fight. But it was a close-ish fight. Floyd never beat him that badly that it was a brutal one-sided beating. It was a close-ish fight that Floyd clearly won, though. I must add that. It was a good performance. But in comparison, I think Miguel Cotto was way more confident and felt a bigger, stronger, fresher man going into the fight with Pacquiao, and Pacquiao blew him away, obliterated him. Some of the shots landed, the punch power, the speed, and the punches that Cotto, if you watch that fight again, Cotto actually landed shots on Pacquiao. It was a good fight because he was meeting fire with fire and coming head on to a quick, in prime Pacquiao. The consequences were brutal. So to me, that's 2-0 against two legendary Hall of Fame fighters, or soon to be, or is in Oscar's case. So number 3, Ricky Hatton. Yeah, Ricky Hatton. There's some variables in this one as well. Ricky Hatton, undefeated, 147, was a 147 world champion, Collazo. So he's still undefeated and probably a good 147 fighter. But no, he was never a 147 fighter. And yes, he had big problems against Collazo, who should never really give him that much problems, really. And Hatton showed that he couldn't hold the punch at that weight as well either. But Floyd's not really the biggest 147, so that should negate it and bring it a little bit more even. So Floyd's performance was great. The way he finished the fight took Hatton out, who I never thought for 1 second Floyd could ever knock out. So I have to give him props for that, no matter the circumstances. But I also want to highlight Joe Cortez. Ricky Hatton's was quick-ish, but he's reckless, and he comes in straight lines and he lunges. That's perfect for a counter-puncher like Floyd, or off the back foot counter-puncher like Floyd, bringing in, especially the punch that finished it, the check left hook. That's just Hatton walking onto him as the more shots that were landed and the lead shots that Floyd was hitting him clean, flush. It was tiring Ricky because he was relentless with it and he was coming in straight lines with no thought of defense. And of course, you can take a man out like that. Plus, Joe Cortez in the fight. I don't want to say... Yeah, it's true though. He killed the fight. It doesn't matter if you think Ricky would ever have beat him, because I would have loved to have seen the inside war with them two. Ricky trying to hold and hit in a legalish way without anything too bad, like a blatant foul. But Floyd would have done exactly the same. Floyd actually can mix it up on the ropes. I'd have loved to have seen that battle play out. But Joe Cortez, a good referee for me, should always let a fight play out to the way it needs to for the fairness and enjoyment of the fight. Certain fights you need to break them up. Certain fights you got to let them fight inside and get a bit rough. Certain fighters only have that attribute and they're going against a quick man, so you can't really just take that away from them. Good referees like Tony Weeks, I've seen him ref lots of different fights, and depending on the fight, his style of refereeing is completely different. Joe Cortez, on your other hand, his style of refereeing is to not let an A-side, a whole side fighter ever get roughed up. Ever. Because I've seen him let rough stuff go on before in England. You know, but in circumstances with Floyd fights, he lets things go on, and other fights, he breaks them up at the first given opportunity. Right, so he ruined that fight as a spectacle and seriously diminished Ricky Hatton's chances. But saying that, it was a great performance by Ricky Hatton. But Pacquiao's performance was way more destructive, way more brutal, in my opinion. Took Hatton out. Hatton was a better 140 fighter, never been beaten at 140, and was coming off a real good win against Malignaggi. Training camp issues aside, Hatton should have felt like the bigger, stronger dude in there. 140 was his weight division. He's a lineal champ. Pacquiao brutalised him. took him out with one of the best punches you ever see. So that's, again, this is the closest one of the three so far. Manny Pacquiao wins the Ricky Hatton fight better than Floyd, in my opinion. So then we go to Juan Manuel Marquez. Let's put things in perspective as well. Pacquiao's fought him in the featherweight divisions and then again in the welterweight divisions. The guy's fought him again and again and again. Lets the guy get familiar and comfortable with his skill sets and lets him adjust to his strengths. Pacquiao clearly had tougher fights with Marquez, which you can't judge featherweight fights because they're two different fights. But yet he had clearly had Marquez problems. Even though I believe he was dominating Marquez, besides the knockdown in the fourth fight, and he was hurting Marquez. If Marquez didn't knock Pacquiao out, Pacquiao was probably going to knock Marquez out that night, in my opinion. The third fight was rubbish. It was a very, very close fight. I can see why Pacquiao won the fight, but then I wouldn't have argued if Marquez wouldn't have won the fight. If Marquez won the fight, I wouldn't have argued. But going back to the point, Mayweather clearly has a better win, but you got to put things in perspective as well. Marquez was a featherweight. He come up to lightweight once and then went straight in against Mayweather at welterweight. The guy never built into the weight, and he didn't have the speed and power to help him transfer the weight classes with as ease like Pacquiao. It's like just because he gave Pacquiao a close fight at featherweight, it was like it was expected to naturally just be able to go and fight Floyd just because he competed with Pacquiao at a weight. So that's like any guy that had ever competed with Pacquiao at a lower weight on that line of thought should automatically be able to just go up to 147 and fight Floyd and be competitive. It don't work like that. And the weight and size of opponent showed that night. So clearly, if that victory is a little bit tainted, and that is a biased opinion, and I'm going to say that, or I'm going to be accused of that. But also another factor, he actually agreed to fight Marquez at 144, and Floyd come in a couple of pounds over the weight division against a guy who was already making step up, and he could have made the weight, but Floyd wanted to have even more advantage. I didn't like that, in my opinion. He was already had a massive advantage. But this is UK Boxing Blogger out. 3-1 to Manny Pacquiao on common opponents that I've named on this video today. Peace.